There were so many things that I was uncovering for the first time. I was pioneering for our family. And so that made me a little bit fearless, for better or worse.
Welcome to Working Women Mentor, a podcast that empowers everyday women like you, like me, to share and learn from life's mentor moments. I am your host, Rani Alfers, and in each episode, you will meet inspiring women that understand the power of recognizing mentor moments and how those moments can change it all. These fabulous women are here and ready to share it all with you. So let's dive in. Hey everyone, on today's episode of Working Women Mentor, we are talking marketing. So for all you marketers out there and anyone who's ever been drawn into a company, I bet Martha Aviles has had her stamp on it. She has worked in the past 20 years over so many mergers and acquisitions and projects and watched the industry of high tech evolve. What is so fun about Martha is her story and her drive, and she's just as uncomfortable as all of us can be from time to time in everything she's touched. But she's plowing through it and has mentor moments to share with us today that you're going to love. Let's meet Martha. Martha Aviles, how are you today? Thank you so much for joining us on Working Women Mentor.
Hi, Rani. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're really excited today because you come from a background of tech and a background of hard work and all kinds of things that you are working on right now. So thank you for being here. Martha, for everybody listening, will you just share your story with us and what you're working on and how you got started in the industry?
Yeah, of course. So I am a first generation American. My parents are Nicaraguan immigrants. I was born in Miami, learned English at the age of 5 or 6, and my dad was an engineer. So tech was not foreign to me because of that. But I knew, even though he wanted me to be doctor, lawyer, engineer, I don't know if there are immigrant children listening to this, but that might resonate with you. I was not interested in any of those fields. So I ended up in marketing, but I've always worked at tech companies because tech is near and dear to my heart. I graduated shortly after 9/11, undergrad, and the economy wasn't the strongest. And so I had to start at a startup. And I say had to because I had a job offer actually rescinded, and all I could find was work at a startup. And Rani, I'll be honest with you, it's made my career. So I have been in tech startups and high growth companies for the last 20 years, which makes me feel really old, but it's been a wild ride. I've been part of over 20 mergers and acquisitions. I've built several high performing marketing teams, and I'm here with you today.
I have to ask, what did your dad say when you decided to skip all these suggestions that he had for you? And I'm sure he had this beautiful path painted out in his mind, and you chose to go marketing. How was that conversation?
Oof. All right. Well, I'll keep it short, but let's just say that skipping suggestions wasn't what happened. He made me take computer science classes, C++ classes. There was a lot of pain that went into this, and he kept calling marketing the dark side, and he was very resistant. We're going to use the word resistant to this idea. 5 years ago, I got an MBA from the University of Texas in 2014. I graduated, and after that is only when he was like, hey, this marketing thing might be working out for you. I don't know if that tells you anything, but yeah, let's just say that I'm a little stubborn and he's a little stubborn.
I have a feeling this stubborn quality of yours pays off down the road and has already. Parents are so interesting. They have a path for you sometimes, and they're just so full of love and wanting you to do well. You have to take it with a grain of salt, I bet.
Totally. And I mean, when parents are leaving their country and everything they know to come to this country and provide opportunity for you, I totally get it, by the way. But doctor, lawyer, engineer, I've spoken to many different children of immigrants, regardless of which country their parents are from. It's been consistent. So I am not alone in this. I'm not alone in this for sure.
Well, you've created your own way in the tech industry. Are you seeing a different journey and path for the women that have been coming in these last few years versus when you started? What is the landscape like for women in tech right now?
Yeah, so it's different because I think there are more women coming into tech. It used to be very male dominated. I wouldn't say it's 50-50 just yet, but I will say that I've seen more and more women entering the field. And as we know, new college graduates, there's so many women coming into STEM careers, and it's been great to see that change. I also think that people like yourself and people like me and other women leaders in organizations are advocating for women women and we're making sure that we are hiring that diverse candidate pool because women are helping change the technology game. I truly believe that diversity of thought helps build better technology. And so that means different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different genders. And so I think it's moving the ball forward. And it's been really exciting to see that change over the last 20 years. And then now there's more women in tech than ever. So it's fantastic.
And for the women who are bringing those different perspectives to tech, what is that exactly? That may give some of our listeners an idea that you don't have to be a computer engineer to end up in tech.
Marketing is all about meeting your customers where they are and building brands and helping companies grow. And at Talroo, we are in the talent acquisition space. We've got a technology platform that helps companies, Fortune 500 companies, hire essential workers. We happen to have the second largest job search audience in the US. And so we've got engineers and product managers and a lot of people working on these awesome products, doing great things. And Tuesday, I was having a conversation with our CEO based on a little situation that I had at my house. So I had a little bit of a flood issue at my house this weekend. And I said to him on Tuesday, I said, do we post our jobs in Spanish? And he was like, why do you ask? Well, over the last couple of weeks, when I've been traveling, whether it was Uber drivers or the plumbers that were at my house or the appliance installers that were at my house because of everything that was happening, I said, all of these guys, they all happen to be men from El Salvador or Cuba. They had been in the United States less than 4 months and their English was rough. They were struggling. And since I speak Spanish, we were able to communicate. And all I could think is, are companies like Home Depot, Roto-Rooter, these guys, are they posting their jobs in Spanish so that they could find the workers that they need? And our CEO, he's fantastic and he's a visionary. And he's like, you know what? That's a brilliant idea. I'm going to talk to the product managers. I think we can do that. And so that's a perfect example of, I made a suggestion. I'm in marketing. I'm not an engineer. It's really about, okay, how do we help solve customer problems? How can you make an impact? And I think anyone can do that within their tech company, and they don't have to have a degree in engineering, for example.
I love that you have the ability to say, hey, not only from a consumer perspective, but a marketing perspective, but just culturally identifying, you package that all up and boom, now this company that's operating in a tech space can roll this out and implement it. And it's impressive. It's a fantastic way to express yourself.
Martha, you mentioned having so many mergers and acquisitions and projects under your belt. Is there any one of them that stands out that you've learned something from that we can hear about and benefit from? What would you share with us?
I was at a high growth company that was doing a lot of acquisitions. We did almost 12 in like 18 months. And the thing that I learned about mergers and acquisitions is that there's a ton of stuff that looks great on paper. And even being an MBA, I could geek out about like, look at these synergies and you hear all these big corporate words and the customers are similar and the ICP, the ideal customer profiles are similar and all of this is great. But what's super interesting to me and that I learn, I get reminded of every time is that the human aspect is the part that's so important. So whether you're merging two companies or even two marketing teams or even one marketing team with a sole marketer, because let's say you're buying a small company, it's really important to sit down and understand what the other company values. What is it that makes them tick? What are the things that worry them and keep them up at night? What are their hot buttons? All those things that people would categorize as soft skills. Sometimes if you're moving fast and you're in a high growth company, you gloss over that. And that's where the M&As can go wrong, actually. And I've learned that over and over again. And I've been reminded of it over and over again. And so it is really interesting that I would just recommend that everyone look at the technology, make sure that it fits, that the customer lists are right, that the customers would enjoy the two technologies working together, the ICP, all of that. But then sit down and have those conversations, those sometimes difficult and uncomfortable conversations in the front end. And that will save you so much pain in the long run because you have to understand that about the person that you're buying or that they're buying you so that you can really be partners in the deal, right? Sometimes all the M&A stuff is boiled down to a bunch of PowerPoints and spreadsheets, but we forget that it's a lot of humans that are that are doing that deal. And so getting to know the people, it's a super important piece of it because that's where things can go sideways. And motivated employees and highly engaged employees make happy customers and make deals good. And unmotivated employees make unhappy customers and make deals go south.
That's great advice for whether you're going to sell your company that you may have. You may be looking for a strategic partnership in that way, and how to find alignment at the core level. And then also for someone who may be looking for a new career or to change companies, those are brilliant tips on what to actually drill down and look at, especially if the company's been recently acquired.
And like I said, it's always a reminder because it's just so many times you'll look at on paper and it's like, oh, this is a perfect fit. Let's do it. And everyone gets excited and you want to rush through things. And there's a time and a place for speed. Don't get me wrong. I'm not advocating for molasses speed here, but all of those things are just so important. And it's the little things like that that will ruin a deal.
You give women advice and mentorship in their careers. What do you think are top 3 things that women can do right now to speak up for themselves in the workplace, evolve and grow and get that role that they really want to have eventually and be relevant in the workplace?
I would say one is really being comfortable with the uncomfortable. You and I were just chatting about this offline. Plenty of things that are great and they don't come easy. It's hard work. So you have to do the work. You have to raise your hand, be brave, make the comment, don't hold yourself back. So I would say that's one of them. 2, don't forget to be authentic. It doesn't work when we try to be something that we're not. And this is something that I learned the hard way. Maybe it's because of how I grew up, or maybe because of the tech industry, how it used to be. It's already hard, but it made it easier to stop trying to be something that I'm not. So I would encourage everyone to just be authentic and do the hard work. And then 3rd is advocacy. I think that's really important. We don't do great things by ourselves. And so whether that's you're advocating for other people or seeking advocates for yourself or seeking support, I know I surround myself with a great group of women that I can lean on and say, hey, I need help with this, or I'm challenged by that. And they do the same and vice versa. And I get so much value from that support. And so those would probably be the 3 main things I would recommend.
That's great advice. And you talked earlier about your dad have an immigrant family coming into the US, and it probably taught you a lot of work ethic. How do you think that he and your family and that situation just growing up has influenced your career and will continue to change how you are?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's 2 things that I really attributed to that. One is the resiliency and that work ethic. You just got to keep getting up. You're going to take losses. That's what I tell my team, but you just got to get up the next day and keep going. It doesn't work unless you do that. And then something that I've learned as I've gotten older, and I didn't really attribute this to that, and now I'm like, oh, this makes sense, is that there's a boldness to my personality that I didn't realize I channeled, but I think it's because I'm a first generation and I'm the firstborn in the family. So I didn't have anyone to lay out a path for me. My parents didn't know American cultures. There were so many things that I was uncovering for the first time. I was pioneering for our family. And so that made me a little bit fearless, for better or worse. Sometimes it shoots me in the foot. Let me be clear. Sometimes I'm like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. But I encourage people to be bold and take that chance. And sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't, but sometimes you win and sometimes you learn. That's what I can say about that.
It's an interesting concept of pioneering for your family, because you were the kid that was probably interpreting things and helping your parents out at each milestone. Did you learn the world through assisting your parents and helping them navigate that scape as well? Because, like you said, you didn't have anyone to show you. So you were all 3 figuring out together.
This sounds silly because I'm 41 now, but there's still things that I'm learning now. And I'm like, oh, that's what that means, because there's so many cultural norms that I don't realize that I don't know. I was born in 1980, and so many people will trade 80s stories with me. I wasn't watching Cheers or Three's Company. And so there's things that I've nodded and smiled along for 41 years. And now I'm realizing like, oh, I don't know what that meant. But yes, the pioneering aspect, yes, we learned it together, but really my parents' tenacity and their boldness is what taught me to do what I do. And like I said, sometimes I've been bold and it's like, oh, that was a mistake, but it's also paid off in a lot of ways. So
I would guess that your brazenness and your boldness is helpful when you're approaching a new startup or a new company that you go to, because you've always looked at everything with eyes wide open and asked questions and made your way. So when you're approaching a new company, is that sort of the skill set you're pulling from?
totally. And having that innate curiosity, I want to encourage that for anyone. And that's where it's going to sound almost like I'm a broken record here. It's scary. Just because I'm bold doesn't mean I'm not scared. I'm scared all the time. Even when I was suggesting, have you ever thought about the Spanish speaking thing? I thought about saying, this might be a dumb suggestion, but then I was like, eliminate that from your language.
It's funny how we have to think about some things before we say it and clean it up a little bit in our mind and then put it out there like we're incredibly confident. I know that you've had mentors in your life and you work with women along the way to help them. What is that one mentor moment you want to share with everyone today, Martha?
I want to say it was a mentee, but who was mentoring me. Because I think with any mentor mentee relationship, it's a two-way street. You learn as much from them as they do from you. So this was one of my first director jobs. And this person reported to me. He was a male. And I don't remember exactly what my comment was, but I was frustrated that I wasn't presenting exactly like, and I'm going to insert a generic name here, exactly like Scott. And I was like, man, I just want to be respected and present exactly like Scott. And, and this man on my team, he goes, I don't know why you would want to be a man. You're a woman. Why would you want to be a man? And when he said that to me, I was like, what? And it was almost like I wasn't hearing myself when I was lamenting. And that's what really stuck with me. And this is why we talked about this earlier. Stop trying to be something that you're not. That was the moment he didn't realize what he was teaching me, that I was like, I'm going to stop trying to be something that I'm not. I'm not going to ever be a Scott or communicate like Scott or any of those things. That's why I tell people, like, look, part of my story is I didn't learn English until I was like 6. It's all important context. And so now I really own that story. And before that, I think I was fighting it. Does that make sense?
Oh, it does. And you're also allowing your audience and the people around you to get to know you when you share those facts about yourself and you're being really transparent. You're saying, "Hey, this is who I am." What was your next presentation like? Was it a slow evolution for you to
No.
really let it sink in?
It was definitely a slow evolution. I'm actually an introvert, so I do these podcasts to push myself, and I've done Toastmasters and public speaking, coaching, and all kinds of things. But what I've realized through this process and through all the learning that I've done is that because I didn't have representation, I lacked that. And I over index on it with my team. I make sure that I'm their mentor, and I like to mentor women of color as well. But I want to push myself this way so that people understand my story. And if it helps one person and it resonates with one person, and it can be inspirational.
And we're glad you do because you're leading us all by example. Martha, as you have come across so many different teams and are leading teams in your industry, what is something that you're observing when mentoring and working with someone? Is it part of your work culture that you're in right now? Is that something that you're doing on a daily basis and a typical basis?
Yes, it definitely is. And what I would say, something that I really like, and I don't know if this is like, I'm obsessed with Brene Brown and I'm just like a big
Oh, love her.
Our executive team here at Talroo is probably one of the most supportive and vulnerable executive teams that I've seen before. And it's changing in general, meaning that people are willing to be vulnerable. And it's not that we haven't had successes, and it's good to celebrate successes, but it's great to also talk about struggles, or when did you face plant in a presentation, or how long it took to get to XYZ step in your career, right? And I think that was such a faux pas for such a long time. And I am seeing significant change there.
It reminds me, I was recently at an orientation for my son's school, and they said, well, the boys will be getting together a few times a week and we talk about different things. And one of the things we talk about, and we want them to all be open to discussing, is hey, they might be struggling. Homework might be 3 or 4 hours at night. They may be tired. They were really encouraging these boys to share and to say, it's okay. We're all with you. We're all in this community together. And I thought, what an impressive skill for young men or anyone at any age, by the way, to learn as you just did and you're seeing in your culture. You're right. We try to keep a pretty bow pulled together and tightly wound and beautifully presented. But when we can share the vulnerable pieces is when we grow. I know you said earlier you surround yourself with wonderful people, and I love to ask our guests to text a few friends and ask how they would describe you to the audience that we're listening to today. Did you get any feedback from your friends that you'd want to share with us?
I did, and I'm not going to lie. I'm embarrassed, but I'm going to share it because I was like,
please do.
I want to do my homework. So I had a couple of people say that I'm a compassionate leader and friend, resilient, strong, brave, intelligent, independent woman.
Aww.
And then someone who, this is really funny because this is one of my most stoic friends. She was like, I think you're a powerhouse and I fully believe that there's nothing you can't do. And I was like, what? So then she was like, except for be really good at Wordle. And I was like, thank you. Thank you for keeping me.
She's like, I just beat you at Wordle.
send each other Wordle screenshots daily because we're that cool. But yeah, that was a very nice exercise. Actually, I was going to compliment you. I think that's good because we don't take time to take feedback like that from our closest people, our closest circle. So I really appreciated that exercise.
Oh, you're welcome. And we appreciate you sharing it and doing it. It's those small moments, like you said, the gentleman who helped you understand to be you in that professional setting. And some of these words that you get from your friends, you can keep them and read them. And some days you need to read them a couple of times. And that might just be the day that you have it. So thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I can't let you go, Martha, before you tell me about what is happening in Austin. That city is blowing up from wherever you are in the world or country. Everyone has heard of this. And so give us some fun facts. What do you like to do there? What are some tips if anyone's heading there soon this summer or over the year?
I would say don't come in the summer. It's very hot right now, but in the summer, we have some great food. There's so much good food, live music. Barton Springs is also fun. And if you're an early riser like me, it's free before 8 a.m. So I highly recommend that. We have some great outdoor activities. We also have some great hikes. So one of my favorite hikes is McKinney Falls. You can hike and swim out there. I really like doing outdoorsy kinds of things. And now that the movies are back, I'm not going to lie, I enjoyed Top Gun at Alamo Draft House a couple weekends ago. And it was so fun. It's like everything I needed for the weekend. So yeah, I highly recommend coming to Austin. It's a really fun town. I think there's something for everyone here, whether you like to do outdoor things or indoor things. It's just a fun town, fun place to be.
Well, I appreciate you sharing those things with us. Martha, where can everyone find you?
On LinkedIn, Martha Aviles, VP of Marketing at Talroo, and then talroo.com. We are an awesome company. We're also hiring, so I'm going to plug that and just reach out. I love hearing from listeners and advocating for women and people of color, so feel free to reach out.
Love it. Thank you so much, Martha. You give so much insight into the heritage that you came from, the workplace that you're running right now, and everyone around you. So we really appreciate your mentor moments today.
Thank you so much, Rani. It was great to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode. I hope you'll walk away feeling inspired and are thinking of how a mentor moment can help you or someone you know. In case you haven't hit the follow button to subscribe to this show, please do so. And if you love the episode, I'd really appreciate a review. You see, this review helps Apple or Spotify or whatever platform you're listening to us on know that other women just like you want to learn about the show, and it'll help us spread the word. Let's connect on Instagram at Working Women Mentor or at Rani Alfers. You can find all episodes online at ranialfers.com/podcast and the ability to send an audiogram of your favorite mentor moments. And we respond to everyone. I truly can't wait to hear from you. Check back weekly for new episodes, and cheers until the next episode.